everyone, I'm Nikki from the design team, and I am here today with a fun project. We are going to be looking at some Spellbinders products today, and this is a really interesting die set. So I want to take you through the die set, how I created some paper piecing, and this wonderful embossing folder. It is so beautiful. So I'm going to take you through the holly embossing folder and then this new poinsettia bloom. It is a different kind of die than traditional dies, so I'm going to show you how it works. So this comes with an outline and the die in the middle. So the die in the middle does a lot of embossing on the leaves, but it also cuts out the petals of the flower. Let me show you how it cuts. So I started with Bristol smooth paper because I know I'm going to do ink blending on this, but let me show you. So this is the middle die. This isn't the outline. You need to be careful with all your pieces, but look how it does this. You slowly peel this off and you'll see that the petals are cut out and completely come out of the middle of the die. So this really stretches my brain and just says, oh my goodness, something completely new and different. I am so excited to try different ways to use this. We're going to start with ink blending this. Now the other die in this set is the outline. So this is nice if you are paper piecing because you can cut out your outline in another color. You can cut out your outline in white, whatever you want to do, but it gives you something to kind of glue your pieces to, and just that extra layer is really cool. I'm going to be using Catherine Pooler inks today, and so I'm going to start with ink blending in Sage. So these are colors from the Spa collection, which give that nice, soft, subtle look. They're not quite as bright as her Party collection, and I'm going to do some ink blending that creates depth on these. So I'm going to show you some ways to add some extra details to your ink blending to really give it a beautiful look. Now you'll see the only thing on this background that really isn't green are those little berries. So I'm being careful around them. I'm using a detailed brush and going in and doing the stems, but I'm not going to worry about being super neat with this. I just want to make sure that I've got some color on the stems and that I've saved those to add a little bit of red. Now, to make my leaves look like they're glowing from inside, I'm taking one of these detail brushes and I'm using the color Spruce, which is darker than what we just used, but it's still in the same color family of green. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to outline each of these leaves, and that just makes them look like they're kind of glowing from the middle. I love this look. It does take a little time with your ink blending, but it really makes a difference. When you're doing something that I'm doing like those little leaves too, you can always just do the inside and like a little bit in the middle of the clump as well. That's perfectly fine, but it just gives a lot of different depth to your cardstock and to your ink blending. It just looks so cool. So here's how that piece is looking. I just really love the different variation. And of course, you've got the embossed part from the die, which really makes all of those little veinings stick out as well. So for the petals, I'm just going to lay them out and get all of them colored with the color Rose Petals, just a light amount. I'm tapping off my brush and just adding this color, and you can already see it makes the veining of these beautiful petals show up, but it also gives it a little bit of color. Now I'm going to go in with Rouge, which is our next color in this series, and I'm going to put just an outline edge, and I'm using that tiny Altenew detail brush as well. If you don't have some small ink blending brushes like this, then it would be great to get some. There's lots of different ones on the ScrapbookPal channel, and they just help you make these little small outlines. I'm not being really precise here. I'm just trying to get some color around the edges because I am going to do 3 total colors on each of these petals. So doing it quickly is nice and helpful. So I'm going to go around each one, but you're going to see it gives it such a cool look that I think you're going to want to try this out on your next project. And you'll see here, it's not super precise. This doesn't look just amazing because I'm ink blending it. I want it to have definite variation in the color, but you can always go back in and blend things a little bit better. I'm just laying the color down to get the effect I'm looking for. Now let's apply our last and darkest color, and you'll see that I am doing a very thin line of this color, just trying not to cover up the other layers. So if you think about it, you've got a middle layer that's light, you've got your medium layer, and then you're adding this darker layer to the edge, and just doing just a little bit along that edge, being very careful with your detail tool to keep it that way. It doesn't seem like a huge effect, but it is going to make this look even more spectacular. So just adding a little bit of that dark along the edges of each of these flowers. It's a little time consuming, but the card is going to be so worth it. Okay, and here's how this is looking. It's going to be so cool. Let's make our background. I'm going to use some ink blending with some more Catherine Pooler inks and some large blending brushes. My favorite way to do ink blending is to create a center glow, I guess you could say. So what I started with is I did a little bit of Tranquil Blue, which is hard to read up there in that left corner in the middle, and it's a very light blue. You probably could get away without doing that actual color and just lighten up your blending towards the center. Around my middle tone color is called Stone Blue, and this is all still coming from that Spa collection of Catherine Pooler, which just keeps the inks. They're very similar. They're that more toned down look. Now I'm going to go back in with Cove Blue, which is the darker of the blues, and I'm just going to do a very small amount. So I'm going to tap this off on my mat and just really do those edges to darken them up. Can you tell how it's darkening up that top right edge? It just adds that extra little bit of depth, and I really love that look. Now you could splatter this, do all kinds of things. I'm just going to run mine through the embossing folder here. Now with an embossing folder, this has got color on one side. You've got to decide which side you want to have the color. So I'm doing the indented into the paper, I guess you could say, so it's not going to be raised up. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm going to be putting a lot on the front of this panel, and I don't want the holly leaves to be raised up where I'm trying to put this flower. So this way everything's indented and I have more of a flat surface to attach that beautiful flower to. Okay, here is where that outline comes in. I'm going to do mine in vellum, and then I'm going to glue the pieces to this vellum. So it's going to give it a nice soft look behind it, and it also gives me something to glue all my paper pieces to and make this look amazing. The easiest way for me to do this was with a tape runner, just kind of getting some of these little small edges, and that's a really easy way to do it on vellum. You can use glue, you just have to be very careful because if you squish the glue out on that vellum, you're going to see it. So I'm just adding a little bit of tape runner. Okay, so once I've got this placed down, now I will be paper piecing these petals in between, and I am going to use foam tape to give this some extra dimension. So I'm going to cut some little pieces of foam tape for my petals, and then we'll put it together like a puzzle. Alright, so I cut little strips of foam tape, and I'm actually using black foam tape just to give it a little bit more shadow behind it. I feel like that darkness back there just kind of makes this stand out even more. And then I'm going to start putting my pieces on. I love to watch things come together really fast like this when they're puzzle pieces. It's so fun. Okay, so here let me show you up close what this flower looks like. Looks so cute. Okay, now we are going to do a little splatter on the background and put this card together. So I added a little Altenew watercolor gold splatter. And I wanted to add this gold element because I knew I was going to use this sentiment that has Glimmer hot foil on it. And so it's got a gold color to it. It could be fine just to be bright white, but I decided to take that lightest color of blue, the Tranquil Blue, and just give this just a little bit of color just so the card really coordinated. Okay, so here's what I used the hot foil plate to get my sentiment, and this is the mini Christmas sentiments. Look at that gold splatter. I just love how this embossing folder and this die turned out on this card. I hope that you enjoyed ink blending with me and had fun checking out these new products. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button on the ScrapbookPal channel, and all of the things that I used will be linked in the description. Have a great day. Bye!